So far, I don't see that Rhonda is. Hold on.
She was getting by Zoom, I think.
Just don't understand the blurriness.
I thought, we'll put you put your name on through that for me or
Yeah.
that's great.
And I looked at something off this whole, and I walked by the street a number of times.
You don't have like
It's interesting.
anything that you can grasp with it?
See other,
Yeah, that's great.
contact neighbors, very- show what you need for
It's funny though, it's not very at the front.
Good.
I know, which makes me feel like it's some kind of a software.
Well, I have another, for our meeting next week, I have a packet to send.
Can you
out,
make it
and I
full
didn't want to
screen
send
without
it until all this. is
zooming
done.
in?
That's something very thoughtful. Good.
You can, if you want, there's an app, you can control it. Take this off, maybe it's kind of like blur out our.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't have time to go back to see for my, but I was like, maybe you would know. or-
Well, it's been
But
it's either 14, 15, or 16 years. I don't know exactly, but it's.
You look at that.
That's awesome. Thank you for
Things
organizing.
have been all-
But that is, I mean, my printer had a good time. You know, But it's what we,
It's not-
I think it's worth it to,
Mm.
I mean, I think it's personally worth it to see the color and.
I can never get, but it's not that bad.
You know, I yeah.
I don't like those,
Yeah, and I always thought that was a good idea. To mark it.
plans.
But it's like, say one thing, one.
It's like, it feels like it sometimes makes it better when I do that, like for a second.
Yeah, it looks better on there than it does on TV.
Oh, yeah, it's extra bad there.
It looks a little better on that screen.
It's just-
Oh, here we go. Maybe we got Rhonda.
Chris will be 80 in
Oh,
December.
no, Jean,
So, way
Jean?
sooner than we would have liked.
Jean, you gonna
Oh,
participate?
maybe she's doing minutes.
Yeah, it's still bad, which I'm not really happy.
She can just be in town.
Yep.
Well, Chris decided not.
Okay,
How old is your son? But
He's gonna be
he's one for the-
Okay, so I get, this is pretty simple anyway, just basically just your picture for the video system.
Oh, my gosh, that's.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe.
I think it's not, it seems to be that it's like some kind of a software problem rather than a, because the top part is clear.
Clear at the bottom.
Hmm.
It's all right. It's better to be less focused when you zoom in on someone, in my opinion. Has got a better blurry.
Yeah.
Right.
I look better blurry too.
Great.
I try to turn off the, like, there's an option to touch up your appearance, like to try to get rid of blemishes and stuff. I thought maybe that was the
Can you try
problem.
that?
I had it on before.
I like the idea of adding more blemish, so you can't tell the true versus the fake or the blurry. I like the blurry.
Yeah, well, you're extra blurry, Will.
Perfect. Perfect.
The lighting in this room is terrible.
Right.
It's interesting, but it hasn't typically been like that. Right? I mean,
It seems it's like an evolving problem. That has been the last few.
I think it's
I
the
think
owl.
that,
It seems to be the owl. Oh, yeah. But the top is clear.
but the lens is on the top.
It's got a camera lens inside it, so I mean, we could probably just take it to the clear shop and look at it all the time. Sometimes they take cartoon stuff. in
Where do
there,
you
so they
do
put
that?
camera. Not around here. The only one I know that does it is important.
I think we'll.
Right,
But
open.
they send it to ship it back to me.
All right.
That's pretty wild.
So Rhonda, did
Rhonda in yet or no?
Jeannie's,
Jeannie's there.
I thought Rhonda said she would if she could,
Oh.
because I thought she had $2 having babies right now.
oh, wow.
I think that's what happened.
2 daughters having babies,
The two of her daughters
having babies
at the same time, something like that, yeah.
Wow.
Should we be trying to wait for Rhonda? Do you think? I don't see her in the,
Anne has a.
Oh, it's Anne,
another
I got it
appointment
mixed.
today, Anne was- So she's not going to be here. She had a violin appointment today. And she had to go to work. So it was kind of like, and then
I guess I thought somebody was gonna participate via Zoom.
Rhonda.
Wasn't
Right,
Rhonda?
that's us there.
she said she would like to zoom in. So.
Oh, hold on, there's somebody else. Yes, here we go. I'll bring her. in.
Echoing here? Is it echoing here?
Yeah, oh, the acoustics in this room are known to be poor. I don't know if there's anything I can do. Shut the door. Hi, Rhonda.
Hello. It's
All
very
right.
nice to meet you.
Meet you too. Can you hear us okay?
I can.
Oh, good, even with all the, background noise. yeah, you look nice and clear.
Yeah, you can't even see anything here.
Alright.
What's that?
You can't see the picture.
It's just blurry.
Oh,
Blurry.
yeah, haven't you? We've been trying to
I know,
address the blurriness
Yeah.
issue.
it doesn't change when it comes over.
No,
Oh, well,
Oh, the blood.
now we know it looks just as bad for everyone else as it does for us. All right.
we gonna start?
I'm sorry.
Do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
Oh, I thought you were going to start.
Oh. Okay. I thought we were going to, all right, I guess that meeting process committee's role. Okay, I'll start with that, and then we'll go to the appointment of the chair, at least pro temp. So my name's Jeremy Martin. I'm the Planning and Development Director for the town of Camden. The Historic Resources Committee is here to, it's not a formal hearing, it's more of an informational meeting. It's not technically a public hearing, but it is a review under our demolition review ordinance, or section of our ordinance, zoning ordinance. A number of years ago, the town voted and approved a demolition delay ordinance and it applies to historic properties. And it is not a formal, we don't have a historic preservation commission. We don't have a historic preservation ordinance. We have a delay ordinance. And what that does is the committee needs to review this. They need to determine whether or not this portion of the building that is being demolished is contributing to the architectural significance of the property. I think I can give you the exact wording. You either need to find or not find that the that this portion of the building is contributing or significant architecturally or historically to the property. And if you find that it is, then there's a 120-day waiting period that gets stripped, and they have to wait. And there's a little process of things they can do to try to either get someone to salvage materials or come up with different options. It's a kind of intent to try to get people to work together to preserve historic properties in Camden. By no means can the committee say you can't demolish this. That's not in your purview. It's not in the ordinance. And this is the second one so that we've done. We did one back in April, I believe it was. And I thought that was a pretty successful meeting, and I thought it was good for the committee to review it. And the way they did, I thought it went well. We have today, applicant before you is, this is for 131 Chestnut, and we have Peter Burke. And we have Joe Rosillo, he's the designer on the project. And there's a small addition. I can't tell you the exact date of the addition, excuse me, that they're looking to demolish, and then they're going to do an addition to the building. Which you don't, again, you don't review the elements, you know, the siding per se, or architectural features. It's about the building, whether or not that is contributing or not. So that's what we're reviewing. Did I summarize that well, Pat?
You did.
Okay. We'll go from there. The committee hasn't met in a while, and I know we have some new members, so we should probably do, at least for now, an appointment of a chair for the meeting. So appointment pro temp, I think is what they call it. And either I think we have, that's Rhonda, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 members.
Right.
Yeah, Rhonda. Hi, Ron. I looked at, pointed at the owl. So Pat, I guess I'll let you start maybe because you've had the experience and been involved like you have with the committee for so long.
Okay.
Does that sound good? Or I can,
Would it be good just for everybody to introduce themselves?
sure,
just like the
yeah.
committee members?
Why don't we
Everybody's-
introduce, and I've never met you before, so why don't we go around and introduce each other and.
Go ahead and turn your microphones on too. It will help the owl to pick up the sound a little bit better, especially if you put it closer to your mouth.
My name is Will Addis. I'm one of the newest members of the committee. And happy to be here.
That's the spirit.
Is that, yeah. No? I'm sure you'll find out. But I'm also on the Conservation Commission. And
Loves history and
Yeah.
trees and
just did the history walk, just did a walkthrough, really the mill walk with my parents this morning, which was fun. And then we went to the history, history department. Saw Ken Gross, spent time with him. So there's a lot of history. That I enjoy and learn about.
Hello, I'm Chris Bethel, architect here in town, and I've been involved with the committee on and off for many years. So I guess this is my third term. I don't. I love old and spend a lot of time.
Pat Scaling, I've been on the committee for quite a few years, and I have worked with Chris for quite a few years, and I don't know what else to say. Love owning buildings and love doing research.
I'm Marcia Flash, and I've been a regular on the committee for the last 5 years or so. Even though we didn't do much in the pandemic, but before that, I've also served a long time as a volunteer, helping on projects, and I am very dedicated to the beauty, preserving the beauty of the town and the historic significance of our town properties.
She's a founding member. You're a founding member.
Founding troublemaker.
I'm Peter Burke. I'm from North Atlantic Painting. I'm representing my client on 31 Chestnut Street, Lisa Gaines, who lives out of town. Quick backstory, I moved to town in '99 and started my painting business, which turned into a contracting business as well over the last 5 years. But I'm a resident of the town and been painting the houses in town for 20 plus years now, and it's been wonderful. Doing a lot of work on Chestnut Street, and more houses than not in the community. So,
I'm Joe Rosello. I'm an architect with Maple Street Design Studio. We've had our office here in town for almost 15 years or so, representing the client 131 as well.
Oh, I'm Allison. I don't have a microphone, but hopefully they can hear. I'm Allison McKellar. I am the select board liaison to the Historic Resources Committee and the hybrid Zoom meeting support person.
I guess let me just clarify one thing that I said. The 120-day period, waiting period is in place. What the committee, if you find that it's not contributing and not significantly architecturally or historically, then you can waive that 120-day period and recommend that to the code officer, at which point then the code officer formally waives it and then can issue the demolition permit and the permit for them to start their project. So that's what you.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah. That's, no, we did not get Rhonda. I'm sorry, Rhonda.
I'm Rhonda Reisner, and I'm also a new member of the committee. I'm actually trained in planning, but all my work has been in research and data. That's my forte. I have done some history work in Camden, doing a walking tour of Chestnut Street, so I'm kind of familiar with those houses now. So I'm looking forward to this. And Allison, soon we have to talk about Ezra Bramhall.
Oh, I would love to.
Oh, good.
Well, if no one has any objections, like, I don't mind being the pro tem person today's, we do have 5 people, 5 of our 6 members present, so we do have a quorum. And I've talked with Rosalie and Chris, the other 2 experienced members, and they would just assume that I did it.
I think we all would that.
What?
I said, I think we all would.
Okay. Okay, well, here we go. Committee quorum is done, summary of the ordinance provisions, we've done that. And the role of the committee, and so Peter, I guess, for the application presentation.
Okay, so I'm just looking to seek approval to move forward on our project. I don't see that we're approving anything. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna renovate this property. Everything really is kind of self-explanatory, and which we can show you some pictures of. I don't know if you guys have driven by or walked by or anything like that, but I think that it's a nice property, and we're gonna be good stewards of it. Other than that, feel free to ask me some questions about it. What you think that I don't know what this process really is. I'm new to this whole thing, so yeah. So I'm just looking for, you guys to ask me the questions, and I'll answer them as best as I can.
I could, if it's all right with you.
Sure.
Just maybe give you on the big sheets, give you a quick synopsis of the basic changes that we're looking at making. So I don't know if you can all see this, but this is basically site plan of the property. Chestnut Street is along here, and then Greenfield Drive along here. So this is the main frontage for the street. This lighter shaded area is the existing structure. And actually, this rectangle here coming all the way out to this point here is the original structure. Sometime in the 1980s or 90s, this single story flat roof structure was attached, is a kind word, slammed into the existing structure. How do you want to describe it? It is just simply, it was about capturing footprint at the time, I believe. So we're not quite sure of the date, but it's absolutely not original to the existing structure. This original structure is a 2-story gambrel roof structure. It's beautiful, it's elegant. And our end intention is to continue that architectural language and continue that the charm and the character of that existing, the original structure. So in doing that, our proposal is to remove a portion of this 1980s or 1990s addition and down to the first floor.
I'm gonna
framing.
try to make this so that it can see you.
Oh, yeah. There we go. There you go.
Maybe if I. I mean, we're having all these problems with the thing.
Now we're getting high tech.
Oh, that's pretty simple.
Well,
Is
it's
that an
more
owl
blurry.
app or something?
I usually don't do this. I usually just have it on automatic mode, but there's a app where you can take control of it and.
All right.
So in terms of removal of the existing structure that is there, we are proposing to remove the roof and the walls of this 1980s, 90s circa addition, remove it, and then build it back up. So in the design of this original structure, there's a gambrel roof you see the gambrel face here on this end and this end, as well as there are gambrel dormers or shapes cut into either side. And so what we're proposing to do is take the gambrel shape on this side and then simply extend it to this edge here, so that we take that same shape, that same language, create some space on the second floor, and have this wing essentially replicate and mimic the other gambrel shapes that are already present in the building. And then there is a small portion of this that will remain flat roof, but we're going to use newel posts and rails, use elements that are more in keeping with the character of historic homes. So it's not simply a flat roof with a rubber membrane on it. So use elements that make it feel as though that flat roof, despite its necessity, fits in with the rest of the character of the home. So that's one of the major pieces of the work that's proposed here. The other piece in terms of removal is this back gambrel end, the one that does not face the street, the one that faces away from the street. We'll be removing that and extending that same shape out 8 feet to capture more floor space on the first floor and on the second floor. So the gambrel end that we'll be recreating will mimic almost exactly, there are a few differences there, but it's going to mimic the existing gambrel end that's on that side. So in terms of removal of the original structure, it's really limited to that. Everything else is, we're filling a little bit of space here, space on the underneath the existing porch for an entry space, then attaching a mudroom and a garage. And if you've seen the elevations, everything we're doing, whether it's renovation of the existing footprint or the existing structure or the additions, everything is really trying to be in keeping. But the philosophy is we want this to really feel as though it's all part of one design language, and if possible, feel like it was always there in that same configuration. So the floor plan simply shows this is that extension here that I was speaking about, and then the mudroom and the garage here, and then this piece is that single-story addition that was made after the original structure that we're going to be renovating. So that's the extent of the scope in terms of what it is that we're proposing. Do you have any questions?
Do you want to share your elevations, maybe?
Sure.
Go ahead, Pat.
Well, no, I guess my question is, you know, I looked at the house from the Greenfield Street and Chestnut Street. And one of my questions is, when you go up 2 stories on that addition, I know that this is not what we're here to decide on today, we're just deciding whether that should come off. But I would, just for my own curiosity, I was reading some of the standards from the National Park Service, from the Secretary of the Interior, and they were really espousing the idea of not building an addition that would rival the original building. And I know it's on the inconspicuous side, which is another thing that I talk about, put it on the inconspicuous side, if you're going to put an addition on. And I know you're replacing an addition, but I just wondered if you felt that 2-story addition was going to smother the other house. Just curious about that.
Well, I guess the short answer is no. I don't feel it will smother it at all. In fact, I think it's going to be in concert with it, because it's not going to be any higher. The roof line won't be any higher than the existing. It's keeping the same shape, the same details. So I think it'll be in concert with it. Again, if it were more prominent towards the front, towards the Chestnut Street side, I might begin to feel similar to what you're describing. But the fact that it's on that side, there's going to be quite a bit of vegetation there. It's set back a bit from the front of the house.
Right, I noticed that. That's
Right.
wonderful. Also, the addition with the garage and the breezeway are set back. And
Right,
that's really
exactly. So we still want that original structure to be in the forefront. The real challenge from a design perspective came, what do we do with all of this flat roof? And I'm sure you've been there, you can tell that does not fit. It really doesn't. And so the concern was, how do we make that footprint fit with what's there? So, and I think that extruding that gambrel shape achieves that without overpowering the original structure.
And is that that's your flat roof with the newel posts up there?
Right, so right now, that flat roof extends from this point to this point.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is taking that gambrel shape and extruding it out, so it matches all of the original appearance, and then it's just this that's flat, and it's much easier to deal with in that sense. So these are newel posts with rails, and you see these on historic and more traditional homes all the time. And so the idea is to try to minimize that space, and then also treat it so that it fits in with the rest of the language.
and that's toward the side that's the offside.
It is, right, that's like kind of in the far corner, it's the furthest away from Chestnut and the furthest away from Greenfield, actually, this area here, so. And so this is the, I believe this, yeah, this is the elevation from Chestnut Street, so this is the original gambrel shape, this is the piece that we're adding. And then that's over the original flat roof section, and then the mudroom, and then the garage. So you can see all of the elements we use. I try to maintain what's there and just continue that language.
And the only other element that was missing really is that other archway on the side. Because there were 2 arches in the front, 2 on one side, 1 on the other.
Correct.
And you're actually getting rid of one of those bays to allow for the door.
We're filling in one of those bays for an entry space, so that there's space to enter the house without actually going directly into the living room space. So it might be feasible for us to use pilasters and try to mimic that shape that's there. Again, it's set back, it's facing the side, so I don't believe it's anything that you're going to see from Chestnut Street elevation.
So that elevation will look the same from Chestnut Street or the original.
I believe so, right?
Yeah.
So because, so if this is the Chestnut Street elevation, this is the small section that we're filling in. So there's vegetation here, so you would probably see some of that through the vegetation, but it's set back and this is all covered here. So I think it would be a challenge to see.
Right, so the part that is not filled in is the porch.
That's correct. This is all.
That
porch.
stays as it is.
Yes, yep, and that's the piece that Pat was speaking about, was it's got the archways and the
On the
columns
side porch.
Right.
Archway is missing. The one is going to be missing.
here, right there. Yes, yeah.
So you'd have 2 on that side. Okay, well, thank you.
Sure.
I'm just curious.
I mean, to the addition, that was, how did you, I mean, I agree with you, is, not it looks like a, desirable habitable space. But just curious, what's the foundation? How did you date that to, or is there a building permit pulled in the 80s or 90s?
I'm guessing based on
Was it
the
concrete?
framing that was used, you can just tell by if it's fresh framing or if it's older, the type of insulation that was used, the windows. So I'm taking a guess at it. It could be later than that, but it's certainly not earlier than.
It's not fieldstone.
No, it's concrete foundation walls and KD lumber inside and bad insulation.
foundation or just slab?
It's a full foundation with a crawl space, I believe. Yes.
I did look for a permit. I didn't find one in the file. Just so you
Maybe
know.
that's why it looks like that. What Yeah.
Or what do you call it? How do you say it was attached to the building?
It's just
Slab?
like slammed into it.
And in this, because the aerial is that red, I
Yeah.
think it's
Very-
red circle, so it's actually, it's not street facing to Chestnut or to Greenfield.
That's correct.
I mean, let's say we're gonna make a motion to approve the demolition.
I mean, I think the motion really needs to be that, that you don't find it contributing or architecturally significant or architecturally or historically significant and contributing. And that in doing so and finding that it's not contributing, that you waive the 120-day period. That's what you do. I mean, that's what you need to, by the ordinance, that's what you need to do. There is in the prior review, when the committee reviewed one, they asked the applicants to look at options for reuse of materials. And
Maybe window doors.
Either reuse, maybe not on the site or salvage them. Salvage them and not have them just go up into a dumpster and be hauled to a landfill.
Well, I think what's really nice about that too, is let's say there's a structure that we deem that might be useful. We could put an ad in the newspaper to say, hey, at your own cost, you can come and pick this up. Something like that.
I think
I
that's,
don't know.
I think that we would let the applicant, I mean, you really get, when you get into that, you get into insurance issues and all host of people coming onto properties.
Yeah, no, it would be at their own insurance. And
Right.
that's how it, in a very governed historic district of Nantucket, that's how Nantucket works. In that if there's a demolition of any structure there needs to be, and there's approval for that to be removed, there is required that a notice goes out in the newspaper. So that anyone within the public, should they want to, take on the cost and liability of moving that, they can hire their own person. And I thought that was a really neat practice. I
That
don't
is,
know if this is.
and it may be not so
Usable.
doable here because
Right.
they're keeping half of that. I mean,
Yeah, but maybe there's windows and doors that.
Right,
They want to
exactly.
give to people.
exactly.
Peter's like really good at this.
Just, yeah, we've worked together. on a couple things. But absolutely, as far as salvaging anything, if there's anything remotely salvageable, we will, whether it's doors, interior trim, exterior trim.
Light fixtures, maybe there's a
Yeah.
light fixture.
Yeah. All kinds of stuff like that. I definitely would encourage, that it doesn't go into the dumpster. And anything that I can avoid. To go into the dumpster.
Is there any way to, track those architectural artifacts?
So I don't know about that. I do know that Chubb, who's the insurance agency on the property, I'm bound by them to do things a certain way. And there are some things that they absolutely don't want in the house and won't insure.
I got it.
So, it's a little bit of a tightrope when it comes to stuff like that, because the insurance company is already on, like, we haven't done it, So they're already,
But would you say what you plan to remove wouldn't have, it doesn't seem like. To the ordinance that it has any historical relevancy based on the date that it was built. And, windows, doors, trim, fixtures, seems like it was all fairly new.
Yeah.
So there doesn't seem to be any historic.
There isn't.
Even
Not for
on
a
the
while,
front, even on the
anyway.
front portion, that seems to be. That's not, you're not removing anything, you're adding new,
Yes.
so it's.
Um, What about in the original gatehouse? Is there anything being removed?
On the interior,
Yes.
on the interior, it's a full renovation on the interior, so that will include. Removal of some walls, new walls. I'll tell you that there's dry rot all over the place in that frame. It's in bad shape.
Yeah.
So we're gonna keep whatever we can keep that fits with the design. But certainly where we have to remove elements for structural reasons, that's gonna have to be a necessity. I suppose as we go through and replace windows, as those windows come out, that's something that certainly could be stored off to the side and be reclaimed if someone would like to do that. I will say, I think in that non-original edition, the windows and doors are correct me if I'm wrong, but they're not in great shape. And I understanding certainly don't want things going in the landfill if they don't have to be, but I think I would be surprised if anyone took it up on
Looking
that.
at the window, the sash, they don't look like they're historic, they look like they might have been replaced at one point.
Yeah, it's
I don't even know if
too,
it's-
some of them were, for sure.
Not that that's Article 30, but.
I've been in this house a bunch, not for a long time. And I think it was even before that addition was put on. Every house on Chestnut Street suffers from the same thing. Where do you put a garage and where do you put that addition on the room without blocking the windows? But this is one of my favorite houses. I think that proportionally it's one of the finest houses in all of town. And the exterior trim is just so minimal and so wonderful. And this is where I come into the heads of the story. Guidelines and all that. It's not trying to make it so that it doesn't match in. But these lines are so perfect and all that you almost have to. It would be a crime and it would be really hard to do it so that it looked like with that, because that is such a crime. Little addition.
Yeah, forever.
I think the one thing that came up with the garage roof, the gambrel, is the exact same as the regular one on the house. And I want to make that, from looking at that elevation, either make it bigger or smaller. or even take the gambrel all the way to the side. I can spend money. And the other thing is we have another problem with shutters. And those are spelled with 2 Ds. A lifetime problem with me. And that's making sure that the shutters are right, and if you're gonna put double windows together, or the shutters on the left and right side of the 2 windows, double shutters so that they match the windows.
Well, I think we're happy to look at that as an architectural element, certainly, shutters. I would be happy to take a look and see how those.
I'm trying to remember the Philip and Margaret, I think that's what her name, that used to live there, and I grew up with them. And she grew up in the house, and I remember it was very simple inside, but there was some bit of woodwork. Nothing really fancy, no carvings.
No, it was pretty simple inside, certainly wonderfully proportioned spaces, but there's some of the dormers have seats in them, but there wasn't a lot of built-in work there.
But anyway, I think that's, go ahead, that's fine. I've known the house from very well, because I did the drawings for the house that was moved next door.
Oh, really?
So I talked with them.
You just got used to it. You got used to the neighborhood. Yeah.
That was 1983, I think.
And the original was just the gatehouse for the original
Yeah.
large house that burned down, right? Down there.
Well, to kind of piggyback on what Chris said too, one of the things that I read from the national standards said that if you're going to remove woodwork on the inside, that to try to do it minimally, that. But I know that depending on what you find inside, and really it's the exterior that matters in terms of the historic district, and that's what we're looking at. Is that going to affect the way the historic district looks? Is your addition going to affect that or not? And that's not really for us to decide. We're deciding on the addition, but we're trying to throw out just some of our concerns because we can't help ourselves.
That's quite right. Again, our objective is really to make sure that we're preserving the integrity of the
Yes.
home, while at the same time complying with modern standards. And those bedrooms on the second floor, I need windows that meet egress. And so that is always a challenge with historic homes that have small double hung windows that are low. I mean, so there are choices that have to be made there that we're trying to do to the best of our ability to make sure that the home, as people go by, still has that same charm and feel to it, but at the same time meets the client's needs and complies with all the code
As
requirements.
far as what you are demolishing, I see no problem with its impact on the original structure. Of course, everything looks different when you add what you want to add, but that's not our purview, so I would just say good on the demolition.
Thank you.
And one quick question, this is just for, in general interest. So I'm assuming if the east is from Chestnut, the west would be behind the rear of the house. And so it looks like, I think this is the west, is new, and this is the existing picture. And so I guess it looks like on the original side, you're taking out the bay window or small bay window and replacing it with newer windows.
Well, so that elevation there is the elevation that's coming out 8 feet.
Yeah.
So we're
You're
extending
adding
that.
it.
We're adding it, so we're gonna be replicating that elevation 8 feet out, and we are adding that bay for the dining room. So when I say it, I was trying not to say it replicates it exactly, because there are some changes that happen with respect to the window.
That's actually gonna be an interior wall, the wall that we're looking at.
That's
The
yeah,
shingle wall.
exactly.
Everything inside, and
Yeah.
then this, because it's only one story, that's showing above these slider.
Correct, and there will still be a single story on that side with the newel posts and the rail. And then as you move further back, that's where we're adding that second story where we can.
So the sliders are consistent, it'd be doors, one, or
in some way.
They're
See this
similar,
back and forth.
right, it's a similar look, they
And
just.
then what is this, no, so this is just, it's not a, it's, is there actually a deck there, or is it just?
No, it's just,
Architectural.
it's just architectural, it's so we're avoiding having, you know, just a
Full
flat
big roof.
rubber membrane roof, so it wants to look something like.
And you have the same colors as trim, like a white, or like that?
Absolutely, yeah, it wants to do that.
That look great.
Yeah.
And there are some homes in the area
That have that?
that have that, yeah.
But I actually grew up in a gambrel house that had that, had a flat roof over the sunroom, and had that exact same, the newel posts and the rails, and it all fit in.
1988 was when that addition, we did find, Jeannie just found it, 88 was when the addition.
Makes sense.
So is the fireplace staying, is that?
The fireplace,
Salvageable?
the main fireplace is staying. There's a chimney that's on the back side of the house that's crumbling, and that needs to come down. But the main fireplace that you see, certainly the chimney you see from Chestnut Street. Is the
It's
main.
gonna stay the same brick, or does?
Correct.
Yeah.
Probably you have to repoint it.
Yeah, it has to be repointed.
So major issue. For the chimneys.
Sure.
We can't say anything about that.
We had that same conversation.
Yeah, several times, but I mean, I think the intention is to not only point it, but line it and, to put gas.
So,
Is the chimney you're keeping the one that you see from Chestnut Street?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a
Can
motion.
I,
Yeah.
it's that you recommend that the CEO waive the balance of the delay, 120-day delay period, that the code enforcement.
Code enforcement, CEO.
Waives it. Not the chief executive officer. That the code officer waives the remainder of the 120-day delay period based on the fact that it's, you guys have found it non-contributing and non-architecturally and historically significant.
Did you hear me just say that? I think.
I think that's Will's motion. That's Will's motion.
I think that's what I heard.
I'll make a motion to have the CEO waive the 120-day
The remainder of the 120-day period,
point period.
and you guys find that
And we find that their demolition is not contributing to the historical integrity of the
the
structure.
character and architectural character and significance of the property.
And we have to thank you for removing it because it's quite literally not historical.
Slammed up against the building. So there's a motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay.
All those in favor?
oh, that's.
So technically, Ron, we should do a roll call vote when,
When someone is on Zoom, you could do a roll call.
Okay,
Correct.
we'll have a roll call
for Ron at least.
vote. Just for Ron.
So the motion is carried.
Yeah, I mean, just make sure that she should say it audibly.
Oh,
Right.
Oh, okay. Yes, I support that motion.
Thank you, Ron.
Perfect. Thank you.
I
Thank you,
guess
this is
there are no
really-
comments from the public.
No, we didn't get anything. And I will say, just to, it was a complete application and notice did go to everyone that needed to get it. So,
Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks for putting all this together.
Thank you.
And you really did maintain the integrity. It's quite,
And thank you
That's
for
quite
the
cool.
follow-up.
yeah.
Oh, of course, yeah, whatever it takes to help with the understanding of the project.
Yeah.
Tell how far back the addition there.
Does the house have a plaque on it?
Is that what?
A plaque, house plaque?
No.
We could get a plaque
Oh,
on
I
it.
think we should go.
I really think you, I mean, if they're interested, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I will.
So I walked by and
Approach
I've
that
seen,
homeowner. Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think she would be.
they don't just do it, they just do it, they're part of Chestnut, right? They would.
Right.
Yeah, because it is in the Chestnut Street Historic District.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is.
Thank you, Ron.
Without. Right?
Yeah, people on the end of this.
Prior to our meeting.
You have to cut everything in order to get out of here.
So,